Hello everyone! Today we are trying to win this with white. As you can see, we have only 3 pawns versus a rook, and these pawns go in this direction, so we have 2 pawns that are very close to promoting, and they might seem hopeless since we only have pawns versus a rook, but I promise you that white has one winning plan here, and it's your job to try to find that. So pause the video, use a bit of time, and really try to calculate till the end, and then come back when you want to see the solution. Good luck. Okay, so what happens if we just push the b pawn up? Well, then black is gonna play rook to b1, of course, to try to stop that pawn. But what happens if we push the other pawn then? Now it seems like we should be winning, right? This rook can't stop both of these pawns. Well, let's see what happens. So if black takes the b pawn and we promote, it might seem like we are winning now as white. But look at this. Rook to h7 check, king to g8, and then black has rook to h8 check. And now, if white takes the rook offer, can you see what just happened? Black is in a stalemate. Black king has nowhere to go. All of the squares are taken away. So that is the problem. Okay, so what happens if we push the other pawn instead, first? So we play e7 first, rook e1, and then b7. Because now when black captures the e pawn, then we have a queen on b8 instead. And now black shouldn't be able to sacrifice the rook, right? Wrong, because black can play rook to e8 here. And if we capture, then we have the same stalemate as before. Okay, so what happens if we play king to g8 instead? Here black can play a lot of things, but let's look at rook to g1 check. And if white were to go back to h8, then black could simply just play rook to g7 and control this 7th rank, and black is winning here. And if white instead goes to the f file, for example f7, then black can continue checking rook f1, and if we hide the king behind the e pawn on e8, for example, then black can play rook to b1. And if we try to push this pawn, then black can just capture the b pawn. And if we try with king f7, again, a lot of things black can do here. Rook b7 or rook b8. And it doesn't matter what white does here. Eventually, black will be able to sacrifice its rook for the e pawn, and then the black king will come after this pawn. And it doesn't matter if we began with b7 here instead of e7. Again, black can at the worst case just capture the b pawn, and this will be a draw. In fact, this is the winning move for black here, but that is not in the scope of this video. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that after king to g8, the black rook will be able to sacrifice itself for these 2 pawns, and then the black king will come after this pawn. So that's also not winning for white. That means that the only move we haven't looked at is h5. And this looks like an odd move. It is the winning move, but how can h5 be the winning move here? Well, the thing is, if black were to try to, say, go after this b pawn here, then we would play e7, and this would force black to e1, because if black captures on b6, then we would be able to promote to a pawn to a queen, and this black rook cannot sacrifice itself and create a stalemate like before. So this is just winning for white now. So let's say black plays rook to e1 instead to control the e-pawn. Well, then we just play b7. And again, if black tries with the old tactic of capturing e7, and then after we promote, black tries with rook e8, well, now we can just capture here, and black is not in a stalemate, because previously this pawn was on h4 and it was covering the g5 square. So here with the pawn on h5, black can escape to g5 and it's not a stalemate. So white wins. Okay, and what if black tries to go for the e-pawn first? Well, it doesn't matter, we just play b7. And if, we have the same variation as before. Okay, except that this time the rook is on the 7th rank instead of 6th rank. So there was a difference, I take that back. But it doesn't matter, black cannot sacrifice the rook because of the rook h7, king g8. If black were to try with rook h8, again we can capture because black can go to g5 with the pawn on h5. So before the pawn was on h4 and that was a stalemate. And if black tries with rook g7 instead, then we have king f8. And yeah, there's nothing more black can try with there. This is going to be a win for white. Okay, so what if black instead captures the h-pawn with the king? Well, then we just push either pawn here, doesn't matter which one. And yeah, if black tries to move the king away with a discovered check, we just play king g8, no problem. If black tries with rook e1, then we just push the other pawn, and we win this. Queen versus rook is winning for white. And if black instead just here, after king takes h5, e7, if black here plays the rook e1, again, same thing. Yeah, we win this very conveniently. Or actually, queen versus rook is a long end game, but so it's not very conveniently at all. But it is a theoretical win. Okay, so did you find h5? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought of this puzzle. But by the way, don't spoil the solution. YouTube is not very good at hiding comments before you click on a video sometimes. Okay, I hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you on the next puzzle. Have a nice day.